Okay, in the last lesson, we started to get our text to animate. Now it's time to take it to the next level. What I've got here is the exact same file that we had before. All right, I've only animated again the first artboard. I have not worked with 2, 3, and 4. Now the only difference is I got rid of that zoom that I did at the end of the last tutorial. So you might remember that we zoomed in, we had the text kind of fly at us as a whole from the last tutorial. I've gotten rid of that because now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do that all with the camera. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this one as Tropic Thunder Camera. And we're going to incorporate a camera onto our animation. Now, what the camera is going to do is allow us to change our point of view. So imagine, if you will, you were recording someone standing up straight and you took the camera and you turned it sideways. Well, you would be looking at them completely different. The person wouldn't have moved. They didn't have to lie down on the ground to appear sideways. You turned your camera. That's what we're going to do here in Adobe Animate. We're going to use a camera on top of our animation, and if we want to zoom in on a word, instead of having the word fly at us, we can actually have the camera zoom in on that word. So the one thing you're going to need is you're going to need access to the camera tool inside Adobe Animate. And that is provided here on the toolbar. It looks like a little camera. If you don't see it, if it's not there, you can press the buttons at the bottom of the toolbar. It says Edit Toolbar. And if you click that, there is, now mine's grayed out because I've actually added it, but you can add more tools to the toolbar if you want. So you can grab the camera and just drag it onto the toolbar, and then you've got access to it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to press that camera button. You also have access to it right down here on the timeline. You can add a camera at the top. And if it doesn't add it to the top of your timeline, and it should, I would suggest you do that. So my personal setup is I like having the audio at the bottom, but my camera at the top. That's the way I set it up. You feel you work what's best for you. So if I scrub through right now, you're going to see we have the animation that we had last time where I know who flies in from the side and I am. The thing is, when somebody's watching this, I don't want them to have to turn their head like this to see the I know who. I want it to come at them straight on. Well, instead of taking I know who and rotating each of those words to actually appear straight on the screen, I'm going to use my camera for that. So I'm going to scrub back to the beginning, or sorry, I'm going to scrub so I can see the words I know who. So once they're all appeared on the screen, and I need to know, well, what does my camera need to look like to have that show up? Well, when the camera layer is selected, or the tools, I should say as well, you'll have two options here. You can rotate your camera or you can zoom it. So watch what's going to happen here. I'm on the zoom portion of it, and what I can do is I can actually grab this slider and zoom in like that, or I can zoom out. Okay, so that's one area you can zoom. You can also, in the tools section in the properties, you can actually use the slider. You can either punch in a set number for the zoom, or you can click. You'll notice that there's a little double head arrow on top of my cursor. So I can actually click and drag and get the same effect that I would if I use this slider. Personally, I kind of don't like this slider down here because what I find is once you get to a certain point, if you wanted to zoom in more, you've got to let go and do it again and again and again and again and again. So you'll notice though, as I zoom in, the words are kind of going off to the side. So I'm going to take advantage of panning my camera, which means actually move it over so I can still see the words. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to start to zoom in on the words, and then notice that they start going off the screen. They start going off my canvas. I'm going to let go. Now I've got my camera tool selected, so you'll notice that when I come on top of my canvas here, that there's a four-headed arrow, and I can actually move the camera. Now remember, the words are staying still. It's the same thing as if you were filming someone and you turn your camera. They're staying still, you're changing the perspective. So realize that nothing has happened to the text. It's still there. I'm using my camera to zoom. So I can use the slider again over here in the property bar, or I can use it down here, and then I can pan it so that the words all stay on the screen. Now you'll notice, well, it's still sideways. Now I'm going to change over to the rotate option. So by clicking the rotate option right here on the left, or using the rotate option up here in the panel, I can now rotate the text. Or I shouldn't say rotate the text, rotate the camera. So the text was sideways, so now I want to rotate the camera so that it appears straight. Instead of using the slider, because I need to get to 90 degrees, so instead of using these sliders to try and get that number perfectly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here to the rotate number feature and type in 90. So again, we've rotated the camera so that the text appears straight. Now I can go ahead and do all my little tweaking. So I'm going to zoom in so it appears, I'll pan so it's a little bit lower like that. I know who, and that looks pretty good to me. I like that. So now watch how our animation has differed. So if I go back to the beginning, notice now the text used to slide in from the right. Okay, came in from the side, and when we were looking at it from this way, now that we've rotated the camera, it looks like the text is coming in from the top. Okay, all because of our camera view. So if I slide off to the side here, you'll see I know who. And then there it is right there. You can also turn the camera off. If you kind of wanted to go back to your original layout and tweak timing and stuff, you could always just kind of get rid of the camera and work without it. But for now, we're good right now. So I'm just going to scrub ahead, and I just want to see. Yeah, okay. So here we go. So I'm going to I know who. Now the word I. Right? Remember that we had I know who came in sideways, but the words I am were straight on. Well, now they're going down. They're not on the screen correctly anymore. So what I'm going to do is just scrub back a little bit. Who, right there. And I'm going to say, okay, at this point, I need the camera to start to rotate. So I'm going to put a keyframe. You can keyframe a camera and move it around just like you would an object on your screen. And then I'm going to scrub ahead maybe just before the word I shows up, and I'm going to put another keyframe. And I'm going to say, okay, at this point, I'm going to bring up the tool for my camera, and I'm going to say rotate back to 0 degrees. Make my zoom level go back to 100. And again, you can use the sliders for this. So for instance, I'm going to pan back over. Okay, at this point, and I might take a look at, well, what's that going to look like? That's not bad. Maybe at this keyframe I actually bring this over just a little bit this way, and I might even want to zoom in just a little bit so that I am is a little bit bigger, like that. I'm happy with that. So now I've got I know who I am. Now notice it just jumped, right? Because we didn't put it in tween. We just said go from here to, or sorry, go from here to here. Just jump. We can classic tween this, just like we did. Classic tween, just like we did with our animation before. I would double check though, watch your effect over here. It seems that mine goes to classic ease right off the bat. I'm going to put no ease because I don't want it to kind of slide into moving. I just want it to move right away. So now watch what's going to happen here. If I jump back, I'm going to get who, and then see how it rotates. So let's play this all the way through.
I know who I am.
Okay. So you may want to decide, that was a little bit quick between I know who and I am, but it's up to you how you want that to look. And if I was to preview this really quickly.
I know who I am.
Okay, not bad. Now what I want to do is, well, first thing I'm going to do is actually save that. I want to actually create a transition now between I know who I am and I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. So what I want to have is, remember in the last time we had the words zoom at us like they went by, like they were coming right at us. Again, we could do that using the layers and have everything enlarge and do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the camera for this. So I'm going to come through I know who I am. Okay. So he starts saying, I'm the dude right about here. So by here, I want the words to be gone. Okay. So maybe what I'll do to ensure that they're gone, or by here I want them to be gone. So I might say, okay, well, if they need to be gone by this point, I'm going to bring their frames back, 1. It does that sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just insert a blank keyframe here so that I know that they're gone by this point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, just take my camera and I'm going to go ahead and have it zoom. So I will put in a keyframe here again. So I'm going to insert a keyframe. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to zoom. So I'll go to the tool level. I like typing it. The slider, like I said, I get a little annoyed. So I'm going to go huge on this one. Like I'm going to zoom to 5,000. And let's just zoom out a little bit here and just see. You can see that's the right size. I'm okay with that. It will, you know, maybe even a little bit lower. Let's go 4,000. We might get away with. And then I'm going to pan my camera over, and you can see the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to have it so that we're going to zoom in on the A. Like we're going to go through that little cutout section inside the A. So now it's going to jump from here to here. Now where do you want that animation to start? So I know who I am. I'm going to have it stay on the screen for a little bit, and then maybe from here I'll put in another keyframe, and I'll put in another classic tween, making sure you check for that ease. You know, maybe you want to turn that off. And now I'm going to scrub back. Let's zoom in so you can see what this is going to look like. And if I play it back,
I know who I am. I'm a dude playing the
so
dude.
you see, we might have to work on our timing here, but you get the idea. So maybe I'll move that camera action back a little bit. So I can even take those keyframes back, and then what I will do is actually have that blank keyframe appear just right about here. Okay. I'm going to save that, and let's see what we've got so far.
I know who I am. I'm a dude playing the dude.
So do you see
disguised as
how?
another dude.
Do you see how we can use the camera to kind of create those motions that might have been a little bit more difficult to do in the actual timeline of Adobe Animate? So if you want to know more about the camera, if you found that was, you get the premise, but you want to know how to work with the camera a little bit more, take a look at the link in the description. It'll take you to the Adobe tutorial on how to use it. And then what you can do is just go back and you can continue to animate the other artboards using the same methods we did between the last lesson and this one. And with that, I say happy animating.